Hey YouTube, Matt here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's art-related video, I'm going to demonstrate for you 3-point perspective. Now, the way this differs from 2-point perspective is that you've got a third vanishing point that you arbitrarily determine the location of above or below the horizon line. And the reason you'd want to include that third vanishing point is that it creates the illusion of height or depth with your structural shape, your 3D shape that you're depicting, again, on a 2D surface. So let's jump into this. And I'm going to show you how this works. And if you're new to the channel, you're most welcome to follow along. All you need for this exercise is a pencil, a blank sheet of paper, and a ruler. And of course, a sharpener and eraser if need be. But let's get going here. Let's start off by drawing our horizon line. Again, just marking off roughly about halfway down the page. Doesn't have to be completely accurately measured out. It's just a guide for our vanishing points. So horizon line, mark that off, HL. And again, just to reiterate, a horizon line is at eye level. So we'll write that down, eye level, just so you remember. This is where your eyes are looking, and the horizon line is where the sky meets land. Okay. And you're also going to mark off 2 vanishing points. I recommend at the furthest edges of the horizon line within the scope of the size of the sheet you're using. And the reason you want to do this is, as I mentioned in prior perspective videos, the closer your vanishing points are together, the more skewed, in a sense, the object is going to look because the points are so close together. In reality, the vanishing points are as far away as possible within your frame of vision. So we're kind of, constricting them within this sized, I'm using a 9x12 sheet of drawing paper. But, you're going to see an example here. Well, you're going to see multiple examples of how that skewing effect looks and why it looks that way versus in real life when you're looking at an object and having this effect be caused. So vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2. And first, I'm going to quickly reiterate what 2-point perspective is, how it's constructed, and then we're going to carry on from there, adding that third vanishing point, which really creates that cool kind of dynamic perspective effect. All right, so from these vanishing points, I'm going to just draw some lines out so that we can build the top face of a prism. And again, I'm not using a ruler just for the sake of saving some time, so I can show you guys how this is done. Now, where these points intersect, where these receding lines intersect is where our new vertices are created. Now, we've got a top face that's accurately depicted here. And from each vertex, you're going to draw parallel lines down. And now these are new vertices we're creating here. And there we go. There is our 3-dimensional in 2-point perspective prism, rectangular prism. And you can erase the construction lines so you can see these faces clearly. Okay. So we use 2 vanishing points to create this object. Now, these parallel lines, when you add a third vanishing point, they're going to start to recede towards that new vanishing point. And because we're seeing the top face, the vanishing point would be below. Now, if you put your vanishing point below the horizon line, below eye level, you're going to see the top face of your structure. And if you put your vanishing point above the horizon line, all of these edges, these parallel sides, are going to converge upwards towards that new vanishing point. So let's start here with our vanishing point 3. And again, we're going to just blast some lines out from this point. And when I'm doing this, I'm thinking at the same time how wide I want this object to be. And we're going to draw one line straight down that's perpendicular to our horizon line right here. So this line is coming straight down. Now, the reason I did this is because I want to use an example of a skyscraper for this, just to help you visualize this better. So let's say you're standing at an intersection and you're looking at the opposite corner of the street, so the diagonal, and again at eye level. So you might see the doors of this office building or apartment complex here, and this is the corner of the building, and these are the edges. Let's say the edges are these lines that I've drawn here. These are the edges. I'll just erase some of these other construction lines here. So I've determined that the building is this wide. Now, if I'm looking, this is my eye level. If I tilt my head back and I look up, I'm going to now create a third vanishing point that's above the horizon line. So now I'm looking at this point in the sky, and the edges of the building are going to start to converge to this new vanishing point that I'm now looking at. And to, let's see, from these vanishing points, again, we're going to create new vertices by, so there's a point here I want to keep here, and from this one I can bring it back to this vanishing point. So you can see now I've created, so this would be the top. Let's say I'm looking up at the top of a building. Obviously I can't see the top face because I'm on the street level and I'm looking up, and I'm seeing these angles now created by the top of the building in perspective. I'll get my ruler here just to draw these nice and sharply, these edges. So you can see that it looks awkward. And again, because this vanishing point is so close to the horizon line, these vanishing points are relatively close together on the page. Now, you get something that looks like this in real life if you're standing very close. Again, if you're on a street corner opposite, if you go down to a busy urban environment, I'm thinking of downtown Toronto, near Union Station. There's lots of tall buildings right at that first intersection out of the station. And I've seen this before. I've seen this in real life, as I'm sure many of you out there have. And this is just the way you actually construct it on the page with these technical rules here. But again, it wouldn't be so hyper angular. It would be more like this, like you'd see, might be kind of like this. And you can achieve this if this vanishing point was like way up here. You'd have these angles coming, you know, down like a lot less extreme. And this is more true to reality. This is what you're actually going to see in real life. But this is technically, again, it's technically correct because of these guides we're using, the horizon line and the vanishing points. And again, if you want to add details, you know, details to this, you can, again, use these vanishing points, carry them across. Now you've got accurate placement for, you know, windows and balconies, brickwork, the frames of the windows. Do this on the other side. Again, once you've marked off one point, you can use that as a guide. And again, I'm just eyeballing it here, but you can see how the building starts to come together. The building, whatever shape it is, this almost looks more like a pyramid, but it's because I've got the vanishing points so close to, again, the horizon line. So this is 3-point perspective. If you've got your vanishing point above the horizon line, the third vanishing point, it creates the effect of you looking up, tilting your head back and looking up at a very tall structure. And see, unlike the 2-point perspective prism here, these edges are actually now receding. So this is again, this is more true to life. Even if you have, let's say you have an object like this that's actually this size, like in front of, if it was in front of me on a desk, like this eraser, for instance. Actually, I've got an unused eraser here. We can't see it. We can't see it, but these edges are still receding down towards the vanishing point, but so subtly that you can't actually see it so instantly, but it is happening. There is a receding going, these edges are receding. It's just so subtle. You can't detect it so immediately, but it is happening. So let's carry on here with the top face. We can see the top face of this one. Now, if we're going to put the vanishing point below the horizon line, so let's draw another top face here. Again, just building one using these two vanishing points we've got. And I'm going to draw this relatively close to the horizon line here, this top face, because I want to put the vanishing point down here below. Okay, so we've got intersecting vertices here, here. All right, so there's our top face. And when we put the first vanishing point up here, we're going to put the other one, again, I'm just going to arbitrarily determine its location down here. And again, ideally, you'd want it like way down, probably 3 pages down, to get that accurate looking, those edges receding at not such a hyper extreme angle, but more true to life. But for the sake of this exercise, we're following the rules just to see what it looks like. And again, so from these vertices, you're going to carry these back to this this new vanishing point we created. You can draw through it just so you can see. And again, it looks like a pyramid. Kind of drew that. So this is our vanishing point. It's also a vanishing point. We'll call it 3.1 because it is still there. We built this out of 3 vanishing points, but on the page it's its own vanishing point. So we've got the top face. We're looking at the top face. We can see the top face now because to capture this kind of effect, you're either on someone's balcony looking down at a building that's shorter in height, or you're actually in the sky, let's say in a helicopter or even in an airplane, and you're starting to land in an airport. You might see the tops of the city, the skyscrapers, the tops of the rooftops, the tops of buildings. And so that's the only way you'd be able to see that top face, is if you're above, your eye level is above that top face. So if I look straight, let's say I'm in a plane and I look out the window, that's my eye level, and I look down, I tilt my head down to look at the cityscape below, then you're going to be able to see those top faces of the buildings. And again, like, we've got these very extreme edges on such extreme angles that it makes it look strange. It looks strange. But again, in real life, let's say we've seen the top face of the building. You might have the angles coming, maybe like, again, it's subtle. A great example is, I'm going to reference comic books here. If you're looking at something like a Batman comic or a Spider-Man comic book, the character is often depicted in the air above buildings. Spider-Man, if he's swinging through the city, sometimes the shots have him close up and the city's beneath him. You're going to see a lot of the top faces of the buildings, and it's going to be in 3-point perspective. If not 1 point, if he's directly above the street, that's also a cool effect. And I will demonstrate that in another video. 1-point perspective. You can do a lot with 1 point. It seems simple, but you can create some really fascinating shots using 1 point, just 1-point perspective. But of course, with 3, you can create these really cool dynamic perspective effects. And just imagine building on an entire page with buildings. And again, your vanishing point would be much further away, so you've got some really interesting effects here with the way that the buildings are drawn. And again, if you want to add in windows and the brickwork, this is where reference comes in, because if you look at the tops of buildings, if you go on Google and just look at rooftops, it's not just a flat surface. You've got, there might be kind of like a safety barrier, and then you've got the actual, like, this might be gravel here, so this might be inside the edge of the, kind of like a metal barrier that exists around it. And sometimes you've got antennae, so in perspective, you're going to draw that using the vanishing point. Just adding these little details to help legitimize this drawing, whatever you're trying to depict, whatever it is, a building, anything rectangular, really. I mean, you could draw a book in perspective like this, and it's going to look really cool. It's going to look dynamic because you're applying that third dimension, height and depth, to your object. So it's going to just start to come to life. you know, the more detail you put into this, well, your work in general, once you have these technical rules down, there's no limit to how much detail you can put in. You start putting in shadows and, you know, intricate details like brickwork and really cool window frames, ornate frames. And then you've got, and you build a scene out of buildings using this perspective, and you've got a legitimate cityscape on your page. That's going to be really fascinating to look at. All right, guys, this is a basic introduction to 3-point perspective. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and I especially like hearing your guys' feedback, your comments, your criticisms, if you've got any questions. In the next few videos, I'm going to be going through some recommendations, some requests rather. Some people have made requests to see certain tutorials created, so I'm going to do that for you guys, and should clarify a lot of questions people have. Drawing virtually anything. If you'd like me to draw anything for you and see how I approach these things, I welcome it by all means. All right, guys, you have a great one, and I will catch you in the next video. Cheers.